serendipity, why worry about it?
In the early 1950s, two eminent medical researchers, Drs. Lewis Thomas from New York University and Aaron Kellner from Cornell University, separately noticed an unusual anomaly in their research labs. The ears of rabbits flopped when the animals received injections of the enzyme papain. 9 Each researcher considered the phenomenon to be abnormal and dramatic, but for each of them at the time, not worth spending much energy on. They were both pursuing other research, and this unexpected event did not pique their interests, or fit into their budgets, enough to follow up. The same phenomenon consistently occurred on subsequent occasions whenever they injected papain. Again, both researchers noticed it, but they did not pursue it. But some years later, in 1955, when Lewis was showing the phenomenon to a group of medical students, he finally decided to follow up on why the rabbit's ears flopped. At that time, he was able, more interest, time, and money, to pursue what had caused the odd result. When he at last studied what was happening, the pursuit resulted in research that was revolutionary, more significant than the research he had been pursuing when he initially noticed the floppy ears. The floppy-eared rabbit research eventually led to a Nobel Award. In contrast, the other researcher, Professor Kellner, never pursued the floppy ears anomaly, as it did not fit into his research interest. Barber and Fox-10 described what happened as serendipity gained, Thomas's decision to look into the phenomenon, and serendipity lost, Kellner's decision not to pursue it. The example offered a striking illustration of the potential benefit of investigating some unexpected information or discovery, as Thomas, finally, did. 11. More famous examples abound of unexpected scientific discoveries that have become life-saving or revenue-generating products, for example, penicillin, Velcro. Interestingly, and perhaps because the results are easier to measure, scientists have unabashedly accepted the value of looking for the unexpected or anomaly that may be more interesting than the expected findings. 12 In contrast, whereas most management scholars generally ignore, at best, or scoff, at worst, the notion of serendipity as an ability to cultivate and use to organizational advantage, some management literature has begun to examine the concept. For instance, Brown 13 argues that it could play a role in entrepreneurs' actions. Do 14 draws upon Sarasvathy 15 to argue that surprises are usually relegated to error terms in formal models. Instead, they may be the source of opportunity for value creation, but only if someone seizes upon them in an instrumental fashion and imaginatively combines them with inputs to create new possibilities, italics added. Interestingly, when questioned, many managers will say it happens all the time, but are reluctant to admit basing major decisions or directions upon serendipity. Yet, some business strategic moves may depend more on serendipity than managers or scholars have acknowledged in the past. Meyer and Skak 16 studied the decisions of small and medium-sized enterprises that were considering and/or moving into Eastern Europe. The networks that managers had developed sometimes offered unanticipated opportunities by providing complementary resources, knowledge, or contacts. Given that the networks were outside of the firm's control, an important aspect was that the managers were open and ready to consider and then take advantage of the unexpected opportunities that arose. In particular, Meyer and Skak 17 found that for small firms, such elements of chance could affect a firm's growth path and direction because of the networks, contacts, and opportunities that the managers could pursue as a result of those serendipitous events. When the small firms responded quickly, they could in some ways leverage such unexpected information better and faster than competitors. Finally, Collins and Hansen, 18 in describing the idea of return on luck, note that events, good and bad, happen in any organization. The ability to take advantage of them, to execute an action that generates good value, has benefited some firms in major ways. 19,20 As the management literature increasingly begins to open to the possibility that serendipity may have value in business, perhaps the way Taleb 21 and others have discussed it in relation to scientists could be applied to management. Successful scientists search for something they know but generally find something unexpected. 22.